I think he's a total traitor, and I would deal with him harshly.
That was Donald Trump talking about Edward Snowden. Snowden's the National Security Agency contractor who told Americans their privacy was being invaded illegally by our government. The NSA was collecting data on all Americans. The courts have ruled that some of that was illegal, but didn't stop them from spying. The candidates are rarely asked about this, and when they are, they spout platitudes like this.
We always have to keep the balance of civil liberties, privacy, and security. It's not easy in a democracy, but we have to keep it in mind.
Of course, there's a line that has to be drawn. How about asking the candidates for some specifics? No one does. Perry Metzger, who runs a digital security firm, says there need not be a trade-off between privacy and security. How can that be?
Really, mostly what we have is a trade-off between security and non-security. People, might want to read the contents of my grocery list, and I don't particularly care about that. But unfortunately, the contents of my grocery list are protected by exactly the same software and systems that protect my bank account, that protect information in flight between different banks, that protect nuclear power plants, transit systems. You don't get security for one of these things without security for all of them. It is not possible to put back doors into our systems and still have those systems be safe from people with bad intentions.
Why?
Unfortunately, we don't know how to do it.
Is it weird that the candidates really get asked about this or speak about it?
Well, it seems to me to be something that should be a major issue. The infrastructure of the United States now runs on computer networks and computers, and disrupting that infrastructure is probably something that people who don't like us might want to be able to do. And yet it really isn't something that they discuss at all.
Back to Snowden. Trump said he should be killed because he's a traitor.
If he's a traitor, who exactly did he betray us to? I mean, that seems to imply that the American public is the enemy. There's something wrong with that sort of thought, I think.
He broke the laws. Hillary Clinton also says Snowden should be caught and punished.
He broke the laws of the United States. He could have been a whistleblower. He could have gotten all of the protections of being a whistleblower. He could have raised all the issues that he has raised. And I think there would have been a positive response to that.
He could have gone to the Congress.
Oh, people tried doing that. There's a gentleman named William Binney who tried going through channels. There's a gentleman named Thomas Drake who tried going through channels. There were a lot of people who tried going through channels. Most of them at best were ignored. Some of them, like Thomas Drake, ended up getting charged with federal crimes only to have all of the charges dropped. The message at the NSA was very clear, which was that you could not go through channels.
After the terror attack in California this year, the FBI said it needed to get inside the killer's iPhone to see if there were ISIS contacts. They wanted Apple to help them get past the phone's security.
Essentially, we're asking Apple, take the vicious guard dog away, let us try and pick the lock.
Apple replied, customers don't want their phones opened up. They want privacy.
They have set out to design a phone that can't be opened.
Those phones aren't only protecting people's Pokemon games, they're also doing things like protecting people's bank accounts. It's not possible to produce systems like the ones that the FBI would like that can't then be abused by bad actors as well.
But the FBI did finally get into that iPhone without Apple's help.
Yes, by having physical access to it and spending a considerable amount of money. What the FBI would like is to have it be so simple that lots of bad people would also be in a position to do this, possibly without even being local to the phone.
On Fox and Friends, Donald Trump argued that after a terrorist attack, companies ought to give the FBI access.
To think that Apple won't allow us to get into her cell phone, who do they think they are?
Who do they think they are?
I think that they have a responsibility to hundreds of millions of people and not simply to the director of the FBI. It is not possible to produce safe systems that have backdoors in them. Again, it would be lovely if we had magic and could do that sort of thing, but we don't.
I would think that spying and privacy would be pretty big issues for presidential candidates to discuss. Did you know that the police can turn on the microphone on your cell phone even when this thing is off? They can secretly listen to your conversations. They can also watch you via the camera on your computer. The FBI director was asked about that this month.
Do you still have a piece of tape over your cameras
Heck
at
yeah.
home?
Heck yeah. I think people ought to take responsibility for their own safety and security. And there's some sensible things you ought to be doing, and that's one of them.
And this apparently is something sensible to do. I put this piece of tape
It's
on the
probably
camera.
sensible to do it in the current environment.
Because bad guys or the cops could really spy on me even when the thing is off?
Yes, but I will point out, however, that the fact that the FBI director has to be afraid of this seems to indicate that the FBI isn't doing a very good job of protecting us. And in fact, probably shouldn't be spending so much time trying to undermine the security of products like that laptop. The fact that you have to worry about those things is an issue. When companies like Apple try to secure these systems so that they can't be abused, that's something we should welcome, not something that we should excoriate them for.
At that same event, FBI Director Comey also said this.
In any government office, we all have our little camera things that sit on top of the screen. They all have a little lid that closes down on them. You do that so that people who don't have authority don't look at you.
I had no idea about this. They have in all government offices a lid?
Well, some government offices certainly have that. But again, I have to ask, why is it that the security on the government's computers is so poor while the government spends quite so much money attempting to break into and listen in on everything in sight? One would think that they would have some interest in defending our systems, not just in tearing them down. But it seems that they spend almost all of their budget and all of their attention on offense and very, very little on defense, which is a shame.
Thank you, Perry Metzger.